So I'm going to tell you the 3 major things Pontiac will need that are absolutely mandatory. Then I don't think there's anybody more capable. I have badmouthed this man. I've said a lot of nasty things about him. GM may be saying, look, Pontiac is back, but only if Trump. Welcome to Rip Roaring Garage, where oil is thicker than blood. I'm Alex, and I am back. It's been a heck of a time to take a break. Tim Kuniskis is out from Dodge. Camaro Panthers are going for $200K, and everybody's talking about print magazines like it's 1985. So I just had surgery today. Let's not poke it. The doctor told me to rest, but there's no rest for the wicked. For those of you guys that are new, I am insane, but I'm smart. We're going to use our brain boxes, our ECUs, to dive into and tear apart this Car and Driver Pontiac is back advertisement. If anything, we're going to listen to them and take their advice and make some noise. We're going to get into a little bit of a, tinfoil hat crazy conspiracies here, and I should mention this is my theory. I'm not jumping on a bandwagon. I was one of the first, if not the first, to talk about some of these elements. It was last week on the Drive Inside's stream. Some interesting little coincidences, if you will. This is from the May-June issue of Car and Driver. It is the back side of the cover, some very prime real estate for advertising. This was sent to me by Big Don, our #1 producer. Again, thanks for all the support. The ad shows the screaming chicken, the screaming eagle, make some noise, Pontiac is back. So for Pontiac to spool up again, my opinion is going to need 3 major things. That's going to be consumer appetite, it's going to be a car, at least, and a CEO. But before that, Pontiac fans, it's been a weird 15 years since we've left, isn't it? Now, we can't definitely say that Pontiac's absence influenced the events we've all been through, but come on! Caffeine comes out of Four Loko, and now it's in lemonade? I have no idea what they mean by that. Everything on the road looks like an Aztec now? Yeah, they're right with that one. You need us. America needs us. The future needs us. This sounds like something Trump would say. So Pontiac is back. Our first model is a hybrid. I'm going to get to that. Surprised? Well, it uses a battery and an electric motor to start a 667 horsepower supercharged 372 cubic inch V8. And we think you're going to want one because what else are you going to do? You can't buy a new Dodge Challenger and leave the splitter guards on anymore. Shut your face. Don't worry, we've got you. Our new car's entire front end is a splitter guard. They're talking about the Duraplast, Pontiac grills, GTOs and whatnot. At Pontiac, we're here to offer a future filled with V8s, great sounds, gold pinstripes, and window louvers. Yes, you guys know I loved louvers on 5th gens. Aluminum ones, not the plasticky ABS. And if somebody shouts, last call, we'll just smuggle in some Coors from Colorado and keep the party going. So obviously that's a nod to Smokey and the Bandits, and there's a couple of more elements in here, but we'll get to that. Under Pontiac is back, disclaimer, do you need to be told that this advertisement is fake and not to be taken seriously? Our lawyers think you do. Okay. Quite a few channels didn't really get the joke. The whole, it's a hybrid. No, it won't be a hybrid, you dummies. They're mocking the hybrids. It has a battery and a motor to start the... it's called a starter motor. Every freaking car since, 1928 has had an electric starter motor. Cranks up the motor. So they're writing this as if they already have a car in mind, which they're not naming. But since, TransAm, the Firebird, it's right there. It's not a Screaming Eagle. It's a freaking Firebird. Duh. Now, one thing I find very interesting is that you have not just one, but you got 2 mentions of Dodge. Obviously, the direct call out that you can't buy a new Dodge Challenger. A little bit of jibing, the splitter guards, har, right? And also last call. Keep that in mind because this is going to come back in one of the later elements. Other channels obviously had some success contacting Car and Driver and GM. Some of the things that these channels report are GM disavows this ad. They haven't paid for it, or at least that's what they're saying, that it was created with no involvement from them, that it's all car and driver. Okay, I mean, I find that a little bit odd, but are you telling me that car and driver just randomly decided to use your intellectual property, you know, the trademark Firebird, the Pontiac name, and just no response from you? GM would tell them, you know, issue a cease and desist or something, but they're not. So that's one of the hints. Let's say that it is car and driver behind this. There's still an enthusiast at car and driver. This could generate some buzz for the magazine in its print form. Again, using the ad to generate buzz about the magazine to sell copies, that would be a major problem for them in a lawsuit if GM decided to pursue. But one cannot deny the buzz. This thing has created so much talk on X, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, everywhere. We're all talking about this. So this thing did achieve its goal. We're making the noise. So this could have been an attempt by an employee or a director at Car and Driver to actually revive Pontiac and say, hey, look at all the attention. Look at all the stuff that's happening. GM, make Pontiacs again. Very possible. More likely it's that GM wanted to, you know, dip their pinky into the waters and see what is, like I said, that consumer appetite for Pontiacs. Okay, so let's get into some of those other elements before I get into the three major things, the huge things. First is NASCAR, the lack of a car by GM for NASCAR. Obviously, you can use the Cadillacs as a sedan, but NASCAR channels have gone into this in depth. You know, I agree, it doesn't make sense for Cadillac to be the car for NASCAR. The Camaro is gone. The Corvette, again, too high up on the food chain. What does that leave you? There's no more Malibu either. So you're left really with no sedan, no muscle car, no sports car, unless you create a sports car division. Sound familiar? The second element that I think is relevant is the nostalgia. Pontiac has been out for a while. We've all forgot ratty Grand Ams, 6000s, or, you know, your first car. Speaking of first cars, one of my first cars was a Pontiac Grand Prix, a two-door that was, you know, had a bit of a yeah, I had to work on it. But I've loved Pontiacs. Yes, that's overseas. For a long time, to the point where I even put the freaking TransAm wheels on a Camaro. And I still stand by the fact that that looks hot, better than the Camaro wheels. Obviously, I've loved Camaros and F-bodies because, you know, here's my 4th gen, 5th gen. I've had every generation except the last one, the 6th generation. That's not to say I don't rent them and have some fun with them. This is also the reason why I believe that Pontiac, if it is to come back, it will be lower cost, more bare bones, less tech, and more engine, manual transmissions, things like that. And not just two doors. I think there's room for a Grand Prix or a Bonneville, TransAm, obviously. Who knows? Maybe a Fiero type car like the Solstice. That's pretty much... That'll be a given. If Pontiac is coming back, you will see the iconic names returning. So the next element that is too hard to ignore is Pontiac's anniversary, 1926. That is coming up. And that gives just enough time for, let's say, a potential CEO that might have a non-compete clause for about a year to cool down. Who could he be talking about? A big opportunity for special edition cars. Like with the Pontiac nostalgia itself, 80s nostalgia in general is like booming.
And the masters of the universe.
You have had the only warning I intend to give.
80s nostalgia has gripped the internet, and you don't have to be born in the 90s and the 2000s to be yearning for that synthesizer music, Kit, Van Halen, and Legwarmers. Okay, maybe not the Legwarmers. But enough time has passed. European revolutions, Tiananmen's, high interest rates, and other issues have filtered away to a nice clear coat to a rosy tinted decade. One of the other elements coming from a channel called Veronica Wheels. Shout out to her. She's small. Let's probably have her grow until her channel's bigger than mine because everybody else is doing that. If I was a race, I'd be the last one. What? So she brings up a very interesting point. She called, and apparently was the only one that called TransAm Worldwide. Well, what's TransAm Worldwide? There's your TransAm Worldwide. I mean, they're taking 5th gen Camaros and putting a new nose, taillight assembly, and bumper covers and whatnot. They're fairly popular for what it is. You guys watched her video about this specific point. What I do want to add is I went to their site, and you would expect to find it filled with photos. TransAm, I don't want to, it's not a replica, it's a reimagining. Instead, no, you don't. Let's just refresh it so you know I'm not lying. This is TransAm Worldwide. You can see the website. I don't want there to be, I'm not messing with this. There's no TransAms. They have this 1970 Chevelle SS, which is an interesting looking concept. I scroll down, it's more SS's. There's sold out. You have the TA, the TransAm, generically, and the Bandit. It needs to be taken into account because they were licensed by GM to use the name and the likeness. Going back to the advertisement, a lot of people say that yes, this costs a lot of money, that nobody, car and driver, would not do this. GM must have done it. We are in an economic downturn. Just ask Google, ask any YouTuber that's actually making money from ad revenue. Things are down. It's no stretch of the imagination to assume that magazines, print magazines, are also going through the same kind of unfulfilled ad slots. And if nobody had the deep pockets to pay for something like this, let's do something cool. Those 3 points, let's get into them. Number 1, you're going to need the consumer appetite. Now, despite the economy, we've seen how the Challenger and the Chargers have sold. I know a lot of places will say that they're not selling this and that. Good luck trying to find a wide body. There's not a single one that's not a special edition car. We love these cars. We're gearheads. There will always be a drive for the new ones. That doesn't change the love for the old cars. Yeah, we will make sacrifices. We will eat ramen noodles if we have to, if there's a really good car that we love. Challenger was one of those. It's a great platform. It's a great car. Camaros are as well. With this void, the market wants them. So you'll say, oh, well, the Mustang can fill it. The Corvette will go up market. Not everybody wants a Mustang. Yes, it's got a stick. Great. Glued on iPads in front of me. It's a major no. So we do need this old school, not old, not antiquated, archaic, old school. At the end of the day, I want more Ford, less Ferrari in a GM. Second big point is the car. Well, it's going to take a lot of time. In a year, they might not have it, this and that. And even if they do, it's only going to be the current 6th gen Camaro, which is already old. It can't keep up with the competition and so on. You'll know that we've discussed this before. There is a 7th gen Camaro. It just was shelved by Mary Barra, the CEO of Chevy. Brilliant woman right there. Oh, yeah. The car's there. Yeah, they had an electric version too. Leave that one buried in the vaults of GM. They do have a 7th gen Camaro ready to go with all the transmission, everything. They just pulled the plug. That's Chevy. And another thing that many of you guys do talk about, there were concept cars and prototypes of a 4-door Camaro. God, that would have been a nightmare. However, a Bonneville, redo the nose, redo the rear, and you got a good sports sedan. And it's not another Holden. There aren't any more Holdens, so that well is tapped. The car is there, and it is, from my understanding, competent. There's also rumors of wind tunnel testing, something super duper top secret going on at GM. Everybody's tight-lipped. We don't know what they're wind testing. I'm not going to go into that because all the other channels that have the deeper resources to contact them and whatnot, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's collect all the data, observe, and think. And that brings me to the last, probably the most interesting of all elements, the timing of Tim Kuniskis leaving Dodge. He calls it retirement. We all know he was retired. I've predicted that Tim Kuniskis would leave Dodge about a year ago. Most recently on the video talking about the Dodge Charger, the new thing with the Dodge brothers and whatnot. In fact, I'm going to put it right now.
It wasn't easy getting here, and I don't have a lot of time. So here's the deal. You don't...
Now, is that a hint that he doesn't have a lot of time to get, he might be fired? That's what I'm talking about. I don't have a lot of time. He's not talking about their silly bit. He's talking about him leaving. Is he just going to leave with no plan, no nothing? Or was something in the works before. Coming back to Pontiac, you're going to need a CEO with some brand recognition behind them. Somebody that knows cars. Somebody that loves cars. Somebody that, let's say, headed up the birth of a certain Hellcat, of a Demon, of Scat Packs, and Red Eyes, and Super Stocks, and Demon 170s. And while Kuniskis has his flaws, this would be one amazing redemption arc from presiding over the extinction of Hellcats to the rebirth of Pontiac. But seriously, Kuniskis does have the chops to invigorate Pontiac, much how he got many of us hyped. Let's face it, the guy knows simple, beefy muscle cars. And if Pontiac is to be that within GM's lineup, then I don't think there's anybody more capable. I have badmouthed this man. I've said a lot of nasty things about him, and I still stand by them, hence the redemption. So in the land where Hellcats and T-Rexes have gone extinct, with just Raptors and Mustangs roaming unchallenged, maybe it is time for a phoenix to rise from the ashes. A screaming chicken, if you will. But none of this will happen with Biden in office. Why? I think this is a teaser. GM may be saying, look, Pontiac is back, but only if Trump gets back in. Otherwise, Pontiac has no shot. It's impossible. Not for a Pontiac that we want. And they know this. They know that if they don't give us something that we want and approve of, it'll tank. It'll crash and burn. It'll be a disaster. They're looking at what Dodge is doing. This new Challenger. They're seeing how we're saying, no, not it. Goodbye. No. EV on top of that? No. Oh, straight six? No. Absolutely no. What I believe at GM, the hope is, with a Trump 2.0, will come, at the very least, deregulation, if not abolishment of the EPA, or things like, at least on the federal level, CAFE standards and CARB. Let the public decide. The reality is that these cars that we have, our muscle cars, we're not commuting them. We're not driving them like that. So a Camry, a Prius, is polluting way more than any Hellcat. Definitely any Demon, when these cars barely have any miles. So yeah, it makes no sense. So one can hope. Either way, what better way to give the EPA, CARB, CAFE, the big old bird. So I'm Alex, the Rip Roaring Garage, where oil is thicker than blood. Hand me a like, and I'm out. Now, we can't definitely say that's Pontiac's app. The Pontiac's absence influences a screaming chicken, if you will.